So yesterday, the Guardians basically swapped Josh Naylor for Carlos Santana. And here we have Carlos Santana's WAR from last season, Josh Naylor's WAR from last season. Carlos Santana had a higher WAR. And WAR is typically a very good indicator of value in baseball, who is the better player. But let's take a look at who really is the more valuable player last year. As we can see here, Josh Naylor had better hitting stats almost across the board compared to Santana. Santana had a better on-base percentage, barely. So you might be wondering, how did Santana get so much more WAR than Naylor? It's all because of his defensive value. As you can see, he won a Gold Glove last year, and really the majority of his value is being generated from that defensive value. Let's take a look here at Santana's Baseball Savant page. As you can see, he's 97th percentile in outs above average, meaning he's a very good defender at first base. A few other highlights here: high walk percentage, low K percentage, and his chase percentage and squared up percentage just shows that he has good pitch selection. He's always had that. That's been his strength pretty much his entire career. Now let's look at Naylor. His outs above average, pretty average, 61st percentile, 0. I mean, nothing to really write home about there. What he improves on from Santana is just his bat to ball skills, really. He doesn't have as good of discipline, chases quite a bit. He doesn't strike out too much, but that's really just a word to his bat to ball skills again. He hit for a bit more power. His expected slugging and expected batting average were higher than Santana's. Again, just more bat to ball skills. But when it comes down to it, Santana's xWOBA wasn't really that much lower. But I don't think it's a hot take to say that Josh Naylor is a better hitter than Carlos Santana. And I think the argument really comes down to sometimes a hit is better than a walk. Josh Naylor had over 30 RBIs more than Carlos Santana this year. And I know RBI is starting to become sort of an old-fashioned stat that doesn't mean too much, but in this case, I think it kind of does. The bat skills, he's putting the ball in play, he's hitting more home runs. That's something that really the Guardians don't have a lot of, and I think that the absence of Josh Naylor is going to be kind of a problem in that sector. And as far as the defensive upside of Carlos Santana, I'm really not that intrigued by it. First base defense is something that I think might be a little bit overrated. I was a first baseman myself growing up. I don't think that it is very important of a position. I think that many players can play first base. I hate to say it. Don't get me wrong, I think that Santana is going to provide more value defensively than Naylor did. It's just that I don't think that the value you could provide at first base is really accurately depicted in the stats. I think the stats make it seem a bit more valuable than it actually is. So all in all, I think Josh Naylor was a better player than Carlos Santana in 2024. I don't really think that that's too much of a hot take, even though the WAR is better for Santana. Where I see the Guardians' vision here is if Josh Naylor kind of fell off at the end of the season. We're going to look at his OPS here through all the months. SOPS is compared to the entire league. TOPS compared to himself. So we're going to look at SOPS. He really made his living hitting-wise in April, March, and June, and was pretty league average for the rest of the season, which is all right, obviously, but it's not great. And at least by the eye test, it really seemed like he fell off towards the end of the year. I think that the Guardians might be concerned a little bit about him and his ability to bounce back. So maybe this trade is a way to wipe clean their commitment to Josh Naylor, and if he falls off, he falls off. Maybe they're banking on that. And maybe Slade Ciccone comes into Cleveland, they get him in the pitching lab, and make him good. So all in all, yes, I do think Josh Naylor was a better player than Carlos Santana in 2024, but I do think there is an avenue for the Guardians that makes this a good trade, which includes Josh Naylor completely falling off for real, and Slade Ciccone unlocking some type of new potential.